So my girlfriend and I watched Lucky Number 11. I just got done reviewing it, and I am really getting tired of this kind of tendency of just throwing in twists to make a movie seem interesting. You know, just because you're hiding something from the audience doesn't mean that isn't inherently valuable. That isn't inherently good storytelling. You know, it's good to hide some things and to reveal some things later, but I'm not going to be spoiling the film in this video. It's just, going through the movie, it didn't feel like there was very much setup and payoff. It felt like it was more just throwing you for a loop just for the sake of it, you know. It's a lot of you not knowing what's going on, and then in the last 10-15 minutes, there's, I don't know, a dozen twists or something, and a massive exposition dump, where everything is explained, and you actually find out the story isn't very interesting at all. It's just told in this deceptive way that makes you think that there's, you know, because you don't know what's going on. When you actually know what's going on, it's not very interesting at all. And I don't think that that's a good way to use twists. I think that's misusing twists. You know, a twist, like anything else in storytelling, is just a tool. You can overuse it, and you can abuse it, or you can use it in the proper way. And I don't think a twist should be instead of an interesting story. You know, there are movies with great twists where the story is still interesting, you know, even if you do know the twists, such as, you know, Seven and Usual Suspects. These movies, you know, the second time you watch them, there's still something there. Psycho, you know, movies that don't rely on the twist just to work, or just to, you know, I can't stand when the twist is out of the blue and just there to throw the audience for a loop. You know, the twists in Lucky Number 11 aren't completely out of the blue, but, you know, details are revealed at the very end that prevented you from figuring out the things, and again, this is just done to confuse the audience. But yeah, films where the twist comes out of the blue, or there's just something, it's just done to leave the audience surprised. And I don't think just surprising an audience is, you know, just by itself a good thing, or necessarily a good thing. Surprising someone is easy enough, but having it actually make sense and, you know, really work, that's more difficult. And I feel like there's a lot of movies now with twists in them where they put in a lot of effort into crafting these stories where you won't be able to figure out what's really going on, or where some aspect is foreign to you until the very end, and that by itself is not interesting. I would argue that there are stories that hold few surprises that are far more interesting. You know, I haven't studied this as such, but I feel I've noticed a tendency in older, such as theater plays and, you know, the classic tragedy, where it's not really that you won't be able to figure out what happens, it's that you see the tendency, and you know, especially in the tragedy, and no matter what, the tragic end will come. It's not going to be averted, even though you see from very early on, this is going to go really bad. You know, examples of, more recent examples of this kind of thing are, you know, the Kane and Lynch games, both of them. I know that a lot of people don't care for them, but I would say that that's an aspect that really works. You know, whether you like the gameplay or the games, I don't think you can really claim, you know, when you start playing one of those games, you can tell from right away, this is going south, this is not going to end well, no matter what. And through the gaming experience in both of them, it just gets closer and closer to that, and you really want to avoid it, but you know that you can't. You know, and this is what I think is something that actually is more, you know, maybe also classic fairy tales. You know, those stories did not feel the need to completely surprise the audience. You can see where a fairy tale is gonna go. And we still told these stories again and again for hundreds of years. You know, a story doesn't need to pull the blanket out, pull the carpet out from underneath the audience in order to be good. I think the moment, you know, a lot of those stories actually lose their power the moment you know what's going to happen. A truly good story, I would argue, at least can be, one where even if you know everything about it, it is still a good story. It is still something that you really get into and you're interested in. You know, people read the same books, you know, the books that were written hundreds of years ago, again, but are still considered fantastic stories. You know, everybody knows Moby Dick by now, but that doesn't mean that we've stopped reading it. We shouldn't stop reading it. You know, it's not... Yeah, I think I'm gonna start repeating myself here. So basically, yeah, just... I don't think surprises is necessarily necessary, or, you know, that they're necessarily a good way to tell a story or a good way to make a story interesting. Please rate and comment, and hey, if you like this video, that subscribe button's just waiting for you to click it.